Hello and welcome to another episode of Outsuit. Today we're going to continue our series about the Internet of Things, but we're going to look at it from a little more of a skeptical perspective. And to help me understand this with a clearer mind is my good friend from the UK, Chris Rixon.
Thanks, Alf. I'm glad my reputation precedes me.
Well, just your accent is all we need to get this set properly.
Exactly right.
Well, we're both here in Houston, by the way, enjoying some time, well, not off, but an off-site with the rest of the team. And I thought it was a good time to sit down with you and talk about the Internet of Things, because there's so much hype around it. I mean, I personally am a bit skeptic to it. I always seem to be the last one to join the herd, for better or worse. Is this all hype, or is there some value to this thing?
Those are two very interesting questions. I don't think it's hype, and I fear that it is not hype. I think that if you think about how easy it is to produce the technology itself that will connect a device, even a very simple device, or even maybe even a garment or an object to another object, that technology is extremely cheap and extremely easy to manufacture, rightly or wrongly. We are no longer facing the problem of addressability, i.e. with the 6th generation of Internet Protocol, we have an exponent so big that we're not going to run out of numbers of objects that we might want to address. So I don't think it's hype at all. I think you need to look at any technology catalog these days of items, be it household items or wearable components or whatever. Things are coming with IP addresses and the ability to talk to each other. So the phenomenon itself is not hyped. But I don't think we've thought it through.
Yeah.
Is my anxiety over the whole thing. This is.
I feel that too, because when I talk to people, the first thing that comes to mind is usually a combination of security and privacy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's right. And by the way, viewers, I'm not actually on the surface of Mercury, although it looks like it. We're just working with compromised hotel lighting in this scenario. If only we had an IP-enabled lamp, I could change the color of it. Yeah. I think security is clearly a potentially huge issue in the absence of the appropriate controls and standards, etc., which will undoubtedly emerge at some point, I suspect, after some extremely high-profile failures, probably. But even then, in the absence of quantum cryptography on these devices, someone is going to compromise them. And imagine the power of a party with hostile intent to be able to affect the lives of ordinary people like you and I to a depth that they've never been able to do so before. Somebody will be tempted to do that. And be it relatively trivial, perhaps, in terms of maybe switching your fridge off when you're out, or your frozen goods are destroyed, or it could be much more significant than that if we're talking about vital infrastructure, etc., and almost any other permutation you can think of in terms of the security implications of having a connected device.
For example, you could hack the system quite easily, take down the security system, shut off the cameras, walk in and take whatever you want to, because you now can even control the situation as a thief. Otherwise, there's always the element of surprise, because you don't know what security system is there. Now you actually control it, and that's just one use case, right?
Well, that's just one use case, and the interesting thing about the Internet of Things in general is the scale, right, and the diversity of things that could happen. And so drawing up a set of weak points or contingencies or even modeling the thing that we've built, I mean, can you imagine a CMDB of the Internet of Things? I mean, I think you'd pretty quickly run out of numbers. I think that's it's a huge exponential problem from that point of view. So
because I've been asking people exactly that, how we're going to manage 1 billion things when we can't manage 100,000. No one gives me a straight answer. The solutions doesn't exist today, I take it.
Well, I don't think. I think that you have to live with, and this could be famous last words, but I suspect you have to live with a limited degree of control. I think we just have to get comfortable with We won't be able to see everything that's being built. We won't be able to contain all the breaches and potential weak points and fully be able to document the things. So on a commercial basis, that might be very problematic for organizations, and I think that it's going to be easy for people to introduce technology that is IP enabled into the workplace without it being anything to do with the IT department, and just sticking it on the network and letting it do what it does, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it happens already, right, with sort of unauthorized devices, but the fact that new pieces of infrastructure that don't do traditional IT things could suddenly be part of an unauthorized shadow tier of infrastructure. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm sure lots of it's going to be good, and I'm sure we're going to be able to do new things that we couldn't do before, and that will be the positive side of things. But I think we need to think very carefully early on.
I slightly worried about the idea that you can hack a pacemaker.
Right.
And the poor guy who was going to talk about that, he was actually a New Zealander, passed away just before he gave his speech. Is this opening a Pandora's box? If you talk about we're going to live with a certain sense of unpredictability, we open ourselves up. That's a little bit the antithesis of where we're going. We're building bigger walls. We're securing our children from everything. We don't do stuff because we're worried about it. And here comes this innovation. It's just going to swing those doors open, and we're just going to hang ourselves out there.
Yeah, I think that. I think so. There's an irony to that, isn't there? Protecting ourselves and then building the biggest open system that's ever been architected, with publicly available protocols with minimal protection. That's kind of interesting. Back to the point of unpredictability, I think this is one of my most... I'm both fascinated and concerned by the unpredictability of what we're building, right? So as a computer science graduate, I'm absolutely fascinated at the ability of this, whatever it is that we build, to exhibit emergent behavior and things that we didn't tell it to do, that the sheer complexity of the devices and the number of devices and the web of interconnectivity between them will be so dense and so complex that it's impossible to document. And that starts to look a lot like something that is, has properties, emergent properties or complex properties, and will start to do things that we don't understand. And that fascinates me because I love stuff like that. But that might not be great if the problem you're experiencing with your internet-enabled pacemaker or some other piece of critical infrastructure, it's not under attack by a person, but it's under attack from a system that is utterly out of control and has got itself in some chronic feedback loop thanks to a fridge somewhere in Arizona.
So it doesn't even have to be an evil act. It could be a malfunction that causes havoc that is far-ranging. In a way we've never seen before.
Exactly. When you deal with a system that is that big and that tightly interconnected, a huge part of its behavior is going to be, what computer scientists call non-deterministic. Right? We don't know what it's going to do. We hope that we put enough in place to stop it doing silly things. But the fact that this is going to be a largely machine-to-machine infrastructure, I think is going to yield some very interesting results and things that we hadn't anticipated.
Isn't it a little bit what we said, however, though, about the internet? We're not going to be able to control it. The internet's going to take over our lives. Information is going to go from one place to another without us knowing. And we seem to have that under control quite well.
Well, I think it's a small miracle that the internet itself still works, given the scale of it, and just the amount of traffic that's going through it. And I think that is, there were a lot of predictions you probably remember about 10, 12 years ago that actually there'll be so much traffic that we won't be able to move it all, and the whole thing will come to a grinding halt, and that'll be catastrophic because businesses have come to depend on permanent connectivity or perpetual connectivity. And that has not come to pass at this point in time. I'm sure it's come close, and there's probably lots of things we don't know about that have happened, and acts of heroism behind the scenes to keep everything running.
That was just a ploy to buy more Cisco.
Yeah, it probably was. But to me, this feels different. This feels like just throwing the gates wide open to total connectivity to things that have not been part of an understood relationship between man and machine. Right? So with the current internet, there are providers of information, consumers of information, and in fairness, a certain amount of machine-to-machine traffic, but it's all been very well, the purpose of that transaction has been largely well-defined, well understood, and we've been able to engineer to help it scale, etc., etc., and haven't really faced a problem. But this is connecting things at a tremendous scale where the use case in every case is very, very different. The behaviors of the devices are different. The reason they'll use interactions is different. How they'll communicate with each other, if they happen to do that on purpose or by error. This is a numbers problem. This is an exponential increase in connectivity, and it could get interesting.
Well, it's always interesting to have you in the zoo, Chris. I really appreciate you coming in and share your thoughts on this. And it's refreshing to see another perspective, especially of new technology, because it's so easy to get on a bandwagon and believe that everything's going to be good, and it's seldom is. So we need to see both sides to make the best decision, right?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I am sure that there are lots and lots of upsides, and certain things are going to be made an awful lot easier. But I think my other worry about the whole thing is how it reduces our role. The human role in society is in an interesting place, because all the use cases I've seen have all been about making things easier. So now I don't even need to do X, whatever X is. I don't need to do that anymore. I just look at this, and my fridge tells my heating system that all the use cases have been about again taking a human out of the loop once again to make tasks easier, more efficient, cost-effective, convenient, etc.
But isn't that where we've been trying to go? If not early days, at least since the Industrial Revolution, to minimize human impact and rely more and more on technology, and out of which numerous philosophies was raised and really portray the future as a doom. But then that never came, and here we are in 2014, and things are running quite smoothly. Are we now becoming quasi-Luddites because we're questioning what's happening?
I think that's absolutely right. I think yes, yeah. Well, some are obviously, and some others embrace it with wholeheartedly, and I think get very excited about it. I'm interested in the role of humans and culture in an environment where technology is that pervasive. I don't have a ready answer for what's going to happen. I don't have any predictions, but I think our role in things, the more and more that gets automated, our role in this whole thing becomes very hard to pin down and very hard to define, and it's hard sometimes to understand what we get out of it just by saving labor, even at the minuscule level. Now I don't even need to touch my light switch because I can just do it by gesturing over here at the fridge.
Well, there are people who say, considering how far we're going with prostheses and having our brain talking to computers through, it's hardwired now, but eventually it'll be going through the ether. We, as in these vessels, if you will, won't be here thousands of years from now. We will be more floating things, lack of better description.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think you point to something very interesting about getting deep and philosophical, but the nature of human embodiment is potentially changing. I think we're at the early stages of that, and what does that mean for our ability to connect to the natural world and each other and things like that? So, yeah, it could just be a generational thing. It could just be that we are neo-Luddite frame breakers, and we're going to go and smash all the digital looms that people are building. But there's no doubt about it. There's something. There's a conspiracy of forces, a nexus of forces of things coming together here that I think need to be, at the very least, paid careful attention to.
Well, Chris, I appreciate your time in the zoo. Hope you have you back soon.
Yeah, and I'm planning to fly back from Mercury any day now.
The rest of you out there, take care. Be safe.
Cheers. Bye-bye.